This is one of the scariest urban legends you will ever hear. If you're alone, by yourself in the dark, just skip the video unless you want to be scared, unless you don't want to be able to sleep tonight. But that's on you. But for the spooky baddies who just love to be paranoid. This is the story of Tsukima Anna, one of Japan's most unsettling urban legends. She's known as the girl in the gap. You know how when you leave your closet a little bit cracked open, or you leave like a cabinet door a little bit cracked open, or even under your bed? That's where she is, that's where she hides. Places that creep you out to look in most of the time. When it comes to Tsukima Anna, you must avoid looking in the cracks of your home. If you leave a cabinet door open, don't look in it. If you leave your door open, don't look in it. If your closet is cracked open, any slight way, don't look in it. This story started a long time ago when a boy was living in a 2-story apartment. He was on the 2nd floor, and he felt like something was watching him for a very long time after he moved in. He just always felt like everywhere dark. It was just like the cracks of everything, like behind his dresser, under his bed. Like every single time he left a door open or a cabinet open, he felt like something was watching him from it, and he didn't feel like he was going crazy at first until it just kept happening. And as weeks and months went on, he was like, there's just something off here. Something is watching me. He tried to avoid looking in the cracks in his home for a long time until he just succumbed to the urge to just look. And when he did one day, he looked in the crack of his closet, and there he seen something that he would never forget. A pale woman with long black hair, almost resembling the Grudge, in a long white gown, and she was just staring at him, and it was a feeling that he would never be able to shake. The next time you leave a door open or accidentally leave a cabinet open, don't stare in it. She will attach herself to you, and then she will haunt you forever, and she'll follow you wherever you go. Even if you move, she'll be there. She will follow you home, hiding in your walls and haunting you for the rest of your life. Make sure you don't leave your closet open. Love you guys. Bye-bye.
Whatever you do not talk to Zozo. I did this and messed up so bad. First of all, you guys shouldn't even be using Ouija boards. But I know some of you guys are not gonna listen to me, and talking to him is a no-no. Actually, you can't even say his name out loud 3 times or you will summon him. When I was 16, I accidentally summoned Nozo. Before I tell you what happened, let me tell you a little bit about who Bozo is. Toto is also known as the Ouija board demon. Of all the things to talk to on a Ouija board, he's not it. He is supposedly a fallen angel that was banished from the heavens by God. Some people even compare him to the actual devil. In the 1940s, a little boy named Roland Doe was possessed. It has become a widespread belief that Toto is the one that possessed him. This little boy's story is what inspired the first exorcism movie. I'm Nikki, and if you're new to my channel, I'm a professional ghost hunter. One of the reasons you have to be so careful with Ouija boards and talking to Toenail is because he can actually mimic voices of the dead. And a lot of times people using Ouija boards are wanting to talk to dead loved ones. He will prey on your insecurities and your fears, and overall he just sucks. He delights in scaring people, so whether that's telling you you're gonna pass soon or telling you there's 9 ghosts instead of 2 in the house. He even goes as far as to confuse psychics by telling them things like he's a little boy ghost and he's scared of the big bad ghost in the corner. There's a malevolent spirit in the house, but really there's only one, and it's him. He is a master deceiver, and we can go through the whole history of Bobo. Some people even think he's the only spirit that you actually talk to through a Ouija board, which I hope that is not the case, because I've used a Ouija board a lot in my life. It was Halloween and I was in high school. Now, I grew up in a small town, and if you're in a small town, you most likely have one of these. Around Halloween, a bunch of like haunted hayride things will pop up. It's like the thing to do with friends or a date. And I was a theater kid, so when my friend Connor from theater class asked me if I wanted to go on this haunted hayride, I said yes. Now, I didn't see Connor as anything more than a friend, and actually one of my friends had a crush on Connor. So when we went on the hayride and Connor tried to kiss me, I was caught off guard, to say the least. But I'm a girl's girl, and I'm not about to do my friend like that. This is Piper, my haunted doll, and she's gonna play Connor for this demonstration, because I know there's some girls out there that will be like, oh, well, he kissed me, I didn't kiss him. This is how you be avoiding that. He comes in like this, and I'm like, anyways, I swerve Connor. You're probably like, what does this have to do with ghost hunting, Nikki? Well, I didn't do anything risky in high school. I didn't sleep with people, I didn't drink, nothing of that sort. So when Connor decided to come up with a rumor to boost his ego at school the next day, the most realistic thing he could come up with was that I was a witch. And boy, did people believe that one. Yes, I dyed my hair black. Yes, I had a black cat. But I was at church every Wednesday. Y'all know small town rumors, they don't just disappear. So being the queen that I am, and I heard this rumor, I embraced it. And if everyone thinks I'm a witch and they think I'm gonna like curse them or something, which I know that's not all witches do, but that's a pro in my book. So after 2nd period, this girl I've never met comes up to me. The quiet, shy girl that sits in the back of the class. And I have never spoken to this girl in my life. The first thing she says to me is, so I heard you're a witch. And I'm like, call me Ursula, what can I do for you, baby? I'm thinking this girl's gonna be asking me for like a love potion or something, which I would have no idea how to make. No, she says, my house is haunted. Can you get rid of the ghost? Theater Nikki activates. Of course I can get rid of your ghost. Now at this point I already believed in ghosts because I grew up in a haunted house. But this girl did not have a ghost. She had a demon. We'll get to that later. I fill a spray bottle about this size that's clear with water. I show up at her house and tell her it's holy water. I spray it around her house. And then before I leave I tell her actually I'm not a witch. But yeah, this was funny. That's how I met my best friend. So that's how this all got started. The house that I grew up in was also haunted, but we'll get into that later. First, let me tell you a little bit about the thing that was in her house. At the time, we didn't know anything about spirits or ghosts. This thing had a weird affiliation with a snow globe that she kept in her closet. He would appear as a shadow man and he would pace around her room at night, specifically between the hours of 2 and 3 a.m. We knew there was something there, but we didn't know who it was or what it wanted. So we looked up how to talk to ghosts, and that's where we learned about Ouija boards. How bad can they be? You can get them at your local Toys R Us. Is my age showing with that one? When you first get a Ouija board and you open the box, there's a few rules. Rule number 1, never play alone. Rule number 2, never play in a graveyard. Rule number 4, you never let it go to the 4 corners of the board or make a figure 8. You also never leave the planchette on the board because that opens a portal. Rule number 5, always keep your fingers on the planchette until you say goodbye. And last but not least, the most important rule, always say goodbye. We were young, we were naive, we didn't read instruction manuals. Are you kidding? We basically broke every single one of these rules. But we started using the board to talk to the ghost in her house. We would ask it things like, does my crush like me back? Will so-and-so break up? Who's gonna go to prom with who? But the scary part was, it was always right. And because it was always right, we became addicted to playing with the board because we wanted to know more. Wouldn't you want to know more?
So if you saw your mom asleep on her bed, then you pass the kitchen and you see your mom standing in the kitchen, which one would you trust? And remember guys, doppelgangers don't just mimic you, they replace you. This story took place in Louisiana. We're gonna call the person who submitted this story Tessa. So Tessa was just a little girl playing in her room when she heard her mom and her dad talking. Curious as to what they were talking about, she stepped out to find them. So Tessa's mother's bedroom was right across the hall and her door was left open. And Tessa could see her mother laying in bed, eyes closed, clearly asleep. So she thought, who's my dad talking to in the kitchen? So she walks out of her room and goes to the kitchen. She walks in the kitchen and her stomach drops because standing in the kitchen was her dad standing there talking to her mom in the kitchen. So Tessa froze, her heart started pounding and she doesn't know what to think. So she doesn't say anything. She just slowly turned and walked back to her mother's room. When she got there, her mom was still there. So Tessa just stands by the door and her mom looks up at her, smiles at her and tells her to come to bed with her. So Tessa walks away again. She's really scared and confused. So she went to her room to try to calm down and make sense of what she just saw. Same mom, but 2 of them. So while Tessa's in her room freaking out, she's thinking, okay, you know what? Maybe one of them will disappear and she'll just forget about them. So Tessa waited a few minutes before leaving her bedroom again. But this time she notices that her mom was no longer lying on the bed. So she thought, okay, maybe this is my real mom in the kitchen. So she goes to the kitchen and noticed that her mom was still standing there talking to her dad. And for some reason, she really wanted to double check that the other mom was out of the room for good. Just really double checking if her mind was playing tricks on her. So she walks back to her mom's room and there she was again, laying there, smiling at her. But this time she was telling her, be quiet and to come lay with her. For some reason, Tessa decided to go lay with her. So Tessa climbs in the bed and she covered her up with the blanket. And when Tessa started getting scared was when this lady started to wrap her arms around Tessa. It just felt way too tight. And just when things couldn't get creepy enough, Tessa hears snarling coming from behind her. Tessa said at this point she was so scared she wanted to run away, but her grip was so tight. She was fighting, but she wasn't budging. So as Tessa is kicking and kicking, a few minutes later she was able to break free from her. So she ran into the kitchen where her father was and yelled, someone's in your room. Her mom and her dad both looked at her crazy. And Tessa told them, go look. And the dad reassured her that there's no one else in the house. She wound up staying in the kitchen with her parents for a few minutes because she did not want to pass her mother's room to go to her room. However, her mom did tell her, go play in your room for now until the food is done. And Tessa had to walk back in her room. When she walked back, she passed her mother's room and it was empty. The other mom just wasn't there anymore. And Tessa says, in case you're wondering if her mother has a twin, she doesn't. Tessa says that as an adult, she now believes that her mom had a doppelganger and she met the evil one that day. And she still questioned herself till this day. What would have happened if she stayed laying on that bed? Was she going to unalive her? Would her own mother really hurt her? This one was definitely spooky. Make sure you leave a comment letting me know what you thought about this story. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel for longer and spookier stories. I have long form content over there. The link is on top of my page. Follow me on Instagram just so that I know that it's real. Duh. And like I say at the end of every single video, I love you, my better humans, from your favorite Haitian homegirl.
I didn't think this story was gonna be as scary as it was, but it definitely is, so let me just start. So this guy says that when he was younger, one of his distant aunts passed away. He says that he really didn't know her, but he could tell the big impact that her death made on the family. Since they all traveled into the town that she passed away at, they sent him to go and spend the night with his cousins. He explains how they weren't gonna stay at the cousin's house, but at their cousin's grandmother's house. He had never met their grandmother until then, and he explains how she was really nice and even asked him to call her Mama Carmen. And no, it was not his grandmother. He was related to the uncle. The aunt was by law married, and his aunt, so it was the mom's mom, so not his grandmother, but his cousin's grandmother. I hope that makes sense. He explains that Mama Carmen's house was really big and it was made out of wood and it was so pretty, but he knew that there was just something off or weird about it. So when nighttime came, they directed him to this really big room in the house, and the older cousin said something to him that just like threw him off. Before walking out of the bedroom, his cousin tells him, hey, whatever you do, just don't respond to them. And he was like, what? What do you mean? And the cousin tells him, just don't respond to the voices. Don't respond to the thing that's gonna talk to you from under the bed. Bitch, if you think I was about to stay there, I'm gonna go wherever you're going after that, cause what the hell? However, he knew his cousins and how much they play around, all the pranks they've done on him in the past. So he was just like, ugh, this is another prank, so whatever, yeah, I won't listen to the voices. He also admits that when his cousins would stay at his house, he would also scare them, so obviously he just thought this was a joke. So he ends up falling asleep and then wakes up to a voice calling him by his name, Felipe. He thought he was dreaming, but as he opened his eyes, he could have sworn that he heard that last little Felipe. Not me giving myself goosebumps right now. So he's laying there very still, awake, and hears nothing. And as he's drifting off to sleep again, he hears that voice again, Felipe. This time, he recognized the voice calling him by name. It had been a very long time since he had heard that voice. It was almost like he had forgotten what that voice sounded like, and it was because it was his mom's voice. His mother, who was no longer living. He immediately gets up and starts walking towards the door. He says he doesn't even want to look back. He doesn't even have the courage to look back and see what is underneath the bed, but he exits the room. However, when he finally makes it to the door where his cousins were sleeping, he said that he felt embarrassed. He thought to himself, if I go in there and tell them that I'm scared or tell them that I heard voices, they're never gonna let it go. I'm gonna have to hear this for the rest of my life, and he didn't want to deal with that. He said that it took him a minute to grow some courage, but he just turned around and went right back to the bedroom that he was sleeping in. He walks down the hallway, goes into the room, lays down, and he's laying there for a good minute. And finally, he is drifting off to sleep, and that is when he hears the voice again. Felipe, I forgive you. You have nothing to forgive me for, he said, half asleep, responding to the voice. You wish for me to die, but I forgive you. The voice responded. So this is where Felipe finally starts telling us a story about what happened with his mom back when she was alive. And he says that he has to confess something that he had never told anyone. His mom was really sick, so sick that she fell into like some sort of paralysis on her body. And he had to take care of the mom because the dad basically abandoned them when this happened because he couldn't deal with it. So can you imagine, like, the mom fell into paralysis, the dad left because he just couldn't deal with it, and he left his son to take care of a fully grown adult. He does say that the dad did continue to send them money to help out around the house, but he never showed up. He stopped playing outside with the neighborhood kids. He stopped doing his homework. He didn't go to school anymore. And all he did all day long, 24/7, was to take care of his mom. And he admits that at that time, he really hated his life and everybody who was in it. And yes, it's true. He really wished for his dad to die for doing this to him, but he also admits that he wished for his mom to die as well. He says that he doesn't wish her dead the same way he wished his dad dead. He wished her dead just so that she can get some peace, so that she wouldn't be in pain, and so that he can also just be a kid again. And he says that it was really hard to take care of her because she couldn't eat by herself, she couldn't shower by herself, she couldn't even go to the restroom. So it was things that he had to do for her, and it was a lot. But that desire for his mom to die was something that he never told anyone, not a single soul. And this is in fact the very first first time that he's writing this down for this podcast to share with the world. So we go back to the voice telling him that she forgives him for wishing her dead. He is more asleep than awake when he asks for forgiveness to the voice that sounds like his mom. He admits that he doesn't know if it was really his mom or what was underneath that bed, but because of what the voice said, he wanted to ask for forgiveness, and he actually put his hand down underneath the bed. He didn't know what he expected. He didn't know if he expected somebody to grab his hand, for someone to say that he's forgiven, but he put his hand down there and actually fell asleep with his hand just hanging there. After falling asleep, he was awoken by a weird sound, and when he opened his eyes, it's when he felt a sensation of something touching his hand. He explains how the hand felt really rough, and it was definitely coming from underneath that bed. At first, he thought he was dreaming, but no, this was definitely not a dream. He was definitely awake. So by this point, the hand was already grabbing at his chest, and he was terrified. He said his heart was beating so fast. However, his curiosity won over the fear that he was feeling. So he literally moved to the edge of the bed and looked to see what was coming out from underneath the bed. What he saw was this very long, gray, old-looking hand coming from underneath that bed. It was fucked up. It was scary. As he was looking at the hand, he could see his hand next to that other hand, so he knew he was awake, but he couldn't take in what he was seeing. It was a lot, and it was crazy. He said at that point, his body became very cold. He was very stiff, and he can still look at his hand and at the hand grabbing at it now, like they're trying to pull him down. And in that very moment, as he's being pulled down, the voice is saying, "I forgive you. I forgive you. I forgive you." Over and over again. It was at this moment that voice completely changed. It didn't even sound like his mom's voice anymore, and it sounded like it was making fun of him. So now the voice was like mocking him, saying, "Do you forgive me? Do you forgive me?" Like over and over. He said that the way the voice changed was like it was using his mom's voice, and then all of a sudden it was just not his mom at all. So like it was trying to trick him. For some reason, this reminds me of Leprechaun. Have you guys seen it? Where like his voice changes. That was also the moment where he remembered what his cousin told him. If a voice is talking to you, do not respond. He wanted to take that advice, so he decided to stay quiet, but at that moment, it was too late. He had already talked back to the voice. Without knowing what to do, he said that he literally bit his mouth so that he wouldn't talk anymore, closed his eyes, and just stayed very still. He even tried to like let go of the hand that was holding him, but the more he tried to let go of the hand, the more the hand was trying to pull him underneath the bed. "Felipe, let me go. Felipe." I'm getting scared. I can't do it. "Felipe, let me go. Felipe, let me go." That's what the voice was telling him now. He finally understood that that was not his mom. That was not his mom's ghost. That was not his mom at all. It was actually the complete opposite of what his mom was. So he fought. He said that he fought for the longest time. He tried to hit. He tried to hold on to the bed. He was not about to let this thing drag him under. And he was successful because it finally like let go of his hand from all the fighting that he was doing. And when that happened, he immediately turned to like the side of the bed where the wall is, where that thing cannot reach him. He said that he sat there next to the wall on the bed, just like waiting for a hand to come up and try to get him again. And it was like the longest silence he had ever experienced. But that was also when the sun finally came out and he heard somebody in the kitchen. He literally jumped off the bed to the door into the kitchen, and it was Mama Carmen that was in there. He told Mama Carmen everything that had happened in the bedroom the entire night. He admits that she never interrupted him. She heard everything he had to say. When he finally finished telling her what happened, she just looked at him, smiled at him, and said, "You shouldn't give anything that much importance." That surely it was a hallucination or he was dreaming. That maybe it was because of him going to the cemetery and funerals because of that aunt that passed away that might have caused him to hallucinate or have these types of dreams. She also asked him not to pay attention or to listen to his cousins because they're little scaredy cats and they also love scaring people but were scared as well. She told Felipe that they used to sleep in that bedroom and then didn't want to sleep in that bedroom anymore, so maybe they made it up so that no one could sleep in there. Sorry, what? You're telling me that they've experienced this, but you're saying they made it up because What? She said that she believes that they made up this story so that they can move out of that bedroom and somebody else occupy the space that they were always scared to sleep in. He admits that he would have loved to believe her saying that they made this up, but how would they explain the voice? How could he explain the things that the voice was saying that only he knew? Now I'm curious as to what his cousins experienced in that room, because it's obvious that they've experienced something. He was like, there's no way that they could have pranked me with my mom's voice and saying things that I had never told anybody. So yeah, she doesn't want me to be scared, but I believe my cousins and I believe they experienced something in there. He also says that he's never gonna forget what that hand looked like. Like, that was not a dream. That was not something that he dreamt of. He was awake and he was there. But man, I would not know what to do if that happened to me. What do you guys think?